Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Ultimate Insider Bear Insiders podcast. I am Mike Pawlawski, former Cal quarterback, radio color analyst, Hall of Famer. Today, we're going to be talking about that Duke loss, which seems like it's so long ago because we had a bye week in this off week. But just over a week ago, Bears went down to Duke 38-21 at home, and Bears scored great first quarter, 21-point first quarter. Duke only 7 in that first quarter, so it looked great for the Bears. And then Bears weren't able to score for the rest of the game. The next 3 quarters, they were blanked. And Duke scored 31 unanswered points. And so there's a bunch of reasons for that. I'll talk to Coach Wilcox coming up. But right now, I'll kind of give you my insights into the game. Huge piece of any football game is turnover margin. You cannot turn the ball over to your opponent and expect to win games. Cal was -4 in this game. All 4 were interceptions, 3 by JKS, 1 by Devin Brown coming in off the bench. So cannot give the ball away and expect to win football games. It just doesn't work out. You don't have the ball for offense. You can't put points on the board. You're giving the ball to their offense and giving them more shots at the end zone. So start off there. Turnovers, no bueno. Can't win that way. You also have to protect your passer. We have Jaron Sungapolatelli, going to be a really phenomenal quarterback. As he grows in the college game, grows in experience, grows in knowledge of the game, starts to take his check down, starts to take the easy ones, he is going to be so much more effective. And right now, as a young quarterback, the game's happening fast. There's a lot of stuff going on. He continues to drive the ball down the field and continues to try to take kind of those big shots. And a lot of that comes from he was such a dominant player in high school, and guys that make it to the next level like that usually are. He's a special talent, and so he was kind of even more, superior at that high school level. And so you could play a little bit of hero ball as a quarterback. You can't do that at the college level. You have to take what the defense gives you. You have to play within the scheme. I don't care how good you are. You cannot drive the ball down the field all day long because defenses will just start to take that away, and then those become mistakes. Those become turnovers. For instance, Jaron's first interception, he wanted to hit, I think it was DeJesus, on a big corner route. The man playing the nickel playing DeJesus did a great job of riding his outside hip, pushing him towards a safety. So he narrowed the gap for the safety to begin with by pushing him inward. And then the safety did a great job of playing over the top. On top of that, JKS kind of stared him down the whole way. It's something that young freshmen do all the time, young quarterbacks do all the time. Didn't look off the safety, didn't try to hold him, didn't look anywhere else, and just telegraphed the pass. And so the combination of DeJesus being ridden to the safety coming over the top, following the quarterback's eyes, JKS not using his eyes to move the safety, all turned out to be an interception. And I think after that one, it seemed like JKS just wasn't in his rhythm anymore. And so, he had another one where it was kind of an in-betweener. He's trying to hit the running back on a wheel route down the sideline when he had a sit down right in front of him. It could have been an easy throw, maybe a first down, at least 6 or 7 yards in it. Instead, he tried to drive it late and just threw kind of a tweener ball. That's a tough one. And then he threw one that was just a flaming hot pea to a running back underneath. Just super hard to handle, gets tipped. That one's going to be intercepted every time. So, just in the moment decisions, and not being fully, that doesn't have the experience of years of play. And so these things come out. This is how you get the experience. You make the mistakes, you learn from it, you grow, you get better. Like I said, he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback one day. And right now he's got incredible skills, but there's a lot of polish that needs to go into it in terms of understanding kind of how to play the game from that position. When he's doing it at a high level, he's going to be pretty magical, I think. So there's that. You can't turn the ball over that much and get away with it. You have to protect your passer. That's the next one. I say it all the time on this podcast. You win and lose the game in the trenches, period. If you protect your guy, if you get after their guy, you win. And the Bears have to do a better job in their pass protection, be it with linemen and running backs, tight ends, whoever's in the protection. They need to give your quarterback an opportunity, a beat to read, to see things. You cannot give up 6 sacks. 6 sacks and 4 interceptions is a bad day. for an offense. And so you can't do that. You have to be better. A huge piece of that is trusting your technique, trusting your assignment, that you can handle the pass rush, that you can handle the twist, that you can handle all those things if you play it within your technique. And I think oftentimes as I watch it on film, guys abandon their technique and it's out of the nerves and out of the fear of getting beat. Well, that's the surest way in the world to get beat. When you play from that point of fear, you blow your technique, you get bad. Technique is technique for a reason, because it works. It's worked over the course of years, and that's why you teach it. And when you give up that technique because you're worried about getting beat, now you're in trouble. And so that happens so many times on the offensive line. Another one is guys got to know their assignment. In order to go full speed, you have to be 100% sure of your assignment all the time. Coaches can take you so far. They can show you this stuff. They can teach you this stuff. But as an athlete at this level, especially, you should be going over it. You should be doing visualizations. You should be taking note cards. And so there's some assignment issues where guys aren't necessarily sure of their assignment. Then there's times when guys are worried about getting beat at their assignment. No bueno, doesn't work, can't do that. You have to play at full speed, trusting your technique, knowing your assignment, and going, man to man. You got to be taking on those one-on-ones. You have to win when you are put in a position to win. And you have to protect the quarterback. You have to be able to run the football too. Bears only rushed for 91 yards in this game. And Coach Manny Diaz, a head coach from Duke, actually said after the game in his post-game conference, their goal was to stop the run and force the young quarterback to throw, because they knew that if they could do that, force him into passing situations all the time, that eventually he would make mistakes. And so when you're going up against a young quarterback, that's a pretty good philosophy, pretty good idea. And so Duke did that. They did it very well. And it was a problem, right? We talked about it, 4 turnovers. The Bears also helped in that regard, in that they were getting the pre-snap penalties. You can't have pre-snap penalties. You cannot set yourself back. You cannot be negative on offense. This game's tough enough before you set yourself back. And so if you're making these mistakes, they're mental errors. You need to develop this discipline on offense. And the Bears didn't have it in this game. Showed up. 21 points. Bears looked great. They were firing on all cylinders. And then they weren't able to get it done after that. And so those are the things they have to clean up on offense to be able to get that done, to have a better game. Because, it felt pretty good up in the broadcast booth. I'm not going to lie to you. We thought, boy, this is going to be a great one here tonight. And then the wheels came off offensively. Defensively, several things stand out. I talked about it. You have to win the battle up front. And in order to do that, your big guys have to win. They have to win their one-on-ones. But you also have to be incredibly sound in what you're doing. Everybody has to hit their run fits. You guys are probably sick and tired of hearing me talk about run fits by this point of the season. But everybody has to be in. Defense is so assignment-oriented that you have to be in your assignment. You have to be in your run fits. And Bears blew a lot of that. They gave 200 yards rushing, a couple of big explosive runs on the night. The running back for Duke was a really, really good young football player, just a true freshman, but he's going to be pretty special when it's all said and done. I just really liked him as a player, Nate Shepard. And so he's going to be a good one. You're going to hear his name for a long time, which means you have to be really, really sound in what you do. And the Bears were missing their run fits. Bears were not gap sound. And as a result, that's when you get your big runs at the end. And Duke was physical up front. You got to give them credit. The offensive line was really good. They were physical. They were clearing those spaces, and Shepard was making Cal pay for it. You also need to learn how to play with a lead. I think both offensively and defensively, Bears need to understand how to play with a lead, not get tight, not lose focus, to just continue to do your assignment. You see, football is a really easy game if you are playing it right. You fully understand your assignment. You understand any adjustments against the defense that you're going to see. And then you understand how to execute those at full speed. And then you go out and you execute at full speed. Simple, right? The concept is super simple. I know what to do. I know how to do it. I know what the adjustment is. And I go and do it 100% every single time. If you can get your mindset down to where you're doing just that, and where you're trusting your technique and you are getting after it, then you can be one hell of a football player. Even if you're not the most talented dude on the field, the guy who executes their assignment at their 100% every single play is the guy who generally wins. And so if you can do that, you turn out to be really good. But when you're not doing that, when you're not sure of what to do, when you're not sure of what the adjustment is, when you hesitate, when you go at 70% instead of 100% because you're unsure, it causes all kinds of problems. That was a problem for the Bears on Saturday night. Secondary has to be good. Again, understanding their assignment, understanding what to do, understanding how to get there, understanding what the adjustment is. There's a lot to this Bears defense. The reason that they have put 8 DBs in the league over the last 5 years is because it's a really sophisticated scheme, and the guys who can play it at Cal go on to play it at the next level. And you see it, time after time. Guys are out there playing at the next level because of the experience they had at Cal. They show up as rookies knowing how to play. And we got a young defensive backfield this year. In order to play in this scheme, you need to understand how to play in the scheme. And I think there were a lot of assignment issues in that secondary. So that has to get cleaned up. And then the defensive line has to help. They have to get pressure. Obviously, we are down as Isaiah Crosby. We are down Ryan McCullough, two of our best players on defense. That hurts for sure. But football, you have to be the next man up. You have to be the guy that steps up, takes charge, and gets it done. And so somebody's going to have to be that guy. That's what's going to have to happen. That's my take on it. That's my thoughts for that Duke game. It's my thoughts, quite honestly, for the BC game. It's my thoughts for the San Diego State game. There's some things that need to be cleaned up. I told you 2, 3, 4 podcasts ago, you can't keep making mistakes and expect to win. You are now starting to get teams in full mid-season polish. We're in game 6 now, going on to game 7. Teams are polished. They are ready. They are lining it up and dialing it up. And so you cannot expect to make mistakes and go in and win football games. It just can't be done. And so if you continue to make mistakes, then you are going to fall behind while other teams continue to advance. And the Bears need to clean up those mistakes. The Bears need to take care of business, figure out a way to get guys on page, to get guys executing at a high level, executing at a high effort, and executing with full understanding. If they can do that, then you can salvage things. But if they don't, then it's going to be a long season from here on out. And that's, kind of the point. That's enough for me. So right now we're going to talk to head coach Justin Wilcox. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about what happened in that Duke game. We're going to talk about how to improve, how to get better. And then we're going to finish off with North Carolina. But right now, let's talk to Coach. Joining me now is Travers Family head football coach Justin Wilcox. And Coach, you've had a week. You've had some time to look at this. When we talked after the game, you were talking about maturity and consistency across the team. What's your take now after looking at that film and kind of getting a minute to reset?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we've just been very inconsistent as a team. There's stretches where we do things well, and then obviously stretches where we're not doing things as well. And we need to get everybody, all 3 phases of the game, playing well at the same time for a long period of time. I think there's some position groups and some individuals that got to learn, the mental intensity and stamina that it takes to be a high-level football player and team. And I'm very optimistic about how much better our team can be in a short period of time. But we have to be able to apply what we're talking about in meetings and practice to the games, and then do it for long periods of time. Yeah, we got a lot of work in the bye week on football, taking care of our bodies and getting ourselves ready to go again. And we got a great opportunity this Friday.
Yeah, bye weeks can be great when you come off of a big win and you feel good about it. Bye weeks can really suck when you come off a loss. What was the mood like? I mean, your teams have always seemed to be very resilient emotionally around things like this. What was your bye week like after that loss?
Yeah, very matter of fact. Here's the reason that we're not playing well. When frustration, we all get frustrated when we don't play like we're capable. And so why is that? Well, here are the reasons why, and there's themes for the team, a few different, probably 2 or 3 things for the team. And then there's the position specific things, and then there's player specific. So you really drill down from the 10,000 foot level down to the individual level. And that's what we did during the bye week. And guys' attitude was great. We all own. I mean, first and foremost, it's our job as coaches to make sure the players are improving and getting better every week. So we need to structure our meetings and practice so they do that, and then hold them accountable. And then they have to take accountability in their own preparation and focus during the game so we can play better football more consistently.
Yeah, and when we talk about, maturity and consistency, so much of that is about the type of motivation that you're working with, right? Are you working with intrinsic motivation or are you working with extrinsic? As a coaches, you guys can only put the extrinsic motivation on them. You can only motivate them through yelling, pressure, stress, leverage, whatever you have, right? And each guy's different in terms of what they need. But the intrinsic motivation is what creates consistency. Guys wanting to do their best all the time, having the pride to make that happen. And so how, as a coach or how as a staff, can you take them from that extrinsic where you guys have to ride herd all the time, where you start to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher, to where they take it internally, where they get the intrinsic motivation, where they have the pride in their performance week in, week out?
That's such a great point, Mike. And guy, it feels like you were sitting in our meeting last week. I think that's so true. I think, inconsistent performers rely on external motivation. Maybe it's, well, hey, so-and-so said I can't do this. Or, hey, if I do this week, then I'll get a prize for that. I think there's just a lot of that out there, extrinsic motivation that people rely upon. And as you just stated so well, and the things that we talk about is it's very difficult to have any sustained success over a period of time without it coming from inside. Now, if you can use external motivation when it's available, great, more power to you. But if you rely on that, if you're relying on prizes or somebody saying you can't do this or, some external motivator, that at some point it won't be there and it's going to come back on you. So football, we kind of talked about, why do you play the game? What are your goals? And holding everybody accountable to that. And everybody has a why and everybody has a personal goal that, or goals that they set for themselves. And then that's great. And they might be different and that's okay. But at the end of the day, those things have to align with playing great football. And if they do, then we can work with them. And then your actions have to reflect the goal, or else you're just a talker. Like you're just a guy that posts on Instagram. That doesn't mean anything. So, your why and your goals need to be reflected in your actions. And so I think there's, helping guys work through that. And I think there's also some guys that are just, they're learning a lot and there's some inconsistencies in performance and the focus it takes down in and down out, because football is not an overly complicated game, but it's very hard because you have to be totally focused, dialed in every single play, the entire game, or else, things don't go well. So that's a lot of what we talked about. And I think you hit it on the head, helping people realize that if they want to achieve these things that they talk about, that they say are important to them, well, here's how you do that. But if you're relying on, a pregame speech or the other team talking smack to you or somebody in the media doubting you, at some point that external motivation is going to be gone and you got to do it for yourself.
Yeah, the external motivation burns hot, but it burns short, right? It's
right.
Very short-lived. So you get it for about 3 minutes, and then after that, if you're not carrying yourself, you're not carrying anything. And the difficulty in it comes in, you talk about guys that have goals and guys that have, needs and wants and all that stuff. But how do you turn that into a process from final goal to now this snap is the most important snap to giving every single effort in this moment? Is this team capable of changing that over? Can these individuals do that?
I certainly think so. I really do. I think they have good intentions. I think they're, and listen, there are 115 guys. Not everybody's the same or wired the same way. That's just not feasible in any college football team or pro football team for that matter. But I think the overwhelming majority guys are wanting to do, they have the right intentions. It's just a matter of how specific and intentional you got to be every down. And we talked the other day about, the secret to great players and great teams is the 5 or 8, 10 plays in a game that turn the game. They know when they're coming, and the reason they know is because it's always the next play. Like that's
always the next play.
It's always 100%. That's the play that makes the difference in the game, and that's how they play them. And if you can compartmentalize that well and apply what you've been coached to do and focused on your techniques and fundamentals, then you'll have a chance to, when those plays come up, because nobody really knows. So it has to be the next play.
But it's got to be the next play. That's the only way I control.
That's right. And so that's really what we talked a lot about, is being able to compartmentalize and play that next play on its own merits and then go to the next one after that. And it's very simple in concept, but it's very hard to do because there's a lot of strain, and there's a lot of mental toughness and emotional toughness that takes. And so that's where we got to see the gains.
Yeah, and everything around you is trying to get you out of that moment into bigger picture, right? So
Yep.
if you can find resilience in ruthless efficiency, that's where the key lies, right? I'm going to be ruthlessly efficient on this play, do my job at the top of my deal, and that's how it happens. All right, let's go over the game just a little bit. So talk about this Duke game. You're up 14-0 early in this game. Offense is great. They're firing. They are being ruthlessly efficient in the first couple drives. Goes to 21-7. What were you thinking at that point of the game?
Well, I thought the offense had moved the ball extremely well. The defense started the game with a 3-and-out, and then the defense gave up a touchdown drive in which we had 5 critical errors: man coverage, eyes, poor communication, I mean, we just had, it was like the one guy that made the mistake on that one play. I mean, I think 5 in one drive, and that was, you know, that was not good. And so when you pair that with, another team that's got a really good quarterback and they run tempo, it's like that's a bad recipe. So then the offense continues to play well, the defense does not. I mean, the first half, really, the defense played 3 good plays. Beyond that, we didn't do much of anything very well. And then I think we started pressing a little bit on offense. We gave up some sacks, we turned the ball over, and we did not punt or kick well. Like our punt team, kickoff team did not perform well. So the field position, I believe their average starting field position was just their side of midfield. So they're already in 4-down territory. And then you come out in the second half, and it was colorful in the locker room for sure. And then come out in the second half, and the defense gets, I think, 3-and-outs to start the game, but we couldn't do anything on offense. And we turned the ball over a couple more times. And I think we ended up -4. And the average starting field position was close to the 50, and the defense didn't stop the run, and that you're not going to win.
Yeah, it's a huge. I like the language, a colorful locker room. That's a great way of just. I've been in those locker rooms before. They can get very colorful. You hit on it. When you're -4 in turnover, I haven't seen very many teams win that game.
No.
How important is that? I mean, especially defense. Obviously, you're not able to score on offense, but how important is that stat for you as a team?
I believe in our time here, when we win the turnover margin, the rate of winning is really high. And it takes more than just winning the turnover margin. You still have to be efficient. But I mean, the big thing for us this year on our team right now is turnover margin and offensively just going forward, not going backwards. So negative plays, procedure or holding penalties, just go forward. And when we've not gone backward and don't turn the ball over, we move the ball really pretty well. And sometimes it takes, a few plays, but we've scored. Where we get in trouble on offense is sacks, obviously, and then turnovers, obvious, but sacks and negative plays and penalties. Defensively, we've played well when we play good run defense. And there's a lot to that because everybody's involved in run defense. Obviously, it starts up front and then the linebackers and then the secondary, because sometimes they crack and they make the DBs tackle. And then the X plays. So, those are themes, like turnover margin for the entire team. Offense, go forward. Defense, run game and limit the chunk explosives. And then the other one that's shown up is our field position, and that's special teams. We have to punt the ball. We've had a couple stretches in games where we've punted well and covered well, and this past game we did not. Same with kickoff team. We need better on kickoff, and we need to kick the ball deeper. Chase is doing the best he can, but we're not getting it into the end zone. And then, we're playing some guys, and we might have to just play more starters on kickoff if we're not getting the ball that deep, because we're giving up too bigger returns on kickoff, and they're starting with better field position. So.
Yeah, and those are all little hidden stats that, I mean, you see them on the stat sheet, but people don't think about them in the midst of a game. It's also getting that first down on offense, right? You get that first down on offense, you get a few yards. Now that changes field position too. So, absolutely. I mean, all those things kick right into the whole combination. A couple guys on their defense really stood out. 97, Wesley Williams, number 7, Vincent Anthony. Defensive, they're edge guys. We talked about them prior to that game. 97 especially, to me, that dude was all over the field. He was in coverage. He's rushing. He got, sack and a half and 3.5 tackles for losses. When teams have players like that, edge guys like that, what is the answer?
Slide to him, chip him in the pass game, keep the back end or keep the tight end in. We do like using our tight end is one of our best weapons on offense. So you don't have to do that the whole time because you don't want to get that guy in the route. In the run game, there's a few different trains of thought there. You probably are not going to have a lot of one-on-ones with the tight ends or in the run game. So you have to be able to base block him or at least stay on him at tackle with the size we have at tackle. And then the other thing you do is, you read him. Yeah, that was he was an issue for us. The pass, that's the thing. Pass defense really starts up front because if they get five guys, if the offense gets five guys out in the route, well, you got 4-on-5 in pass rush. And if you if you can rush the quarterback with four guys and not let him, get through the 4 and 5 seconds, then, you can play zone defense, get your eyes on the ball, and the ball's going to come out.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can either do that. Now, if you can't protect them, then you're going to keep the tight end or the back end. Now you have fewer guys stressing the coverage. So you have fewer guys in the route and more guys in coverage. If your 5 offensive linemen can block the 4 defensive linemen, that's kind of what we ran into. We didn't rush the quarterback very well. And if you don't get pressure on the quarterback and they get 5 guys out in the route, there's a lot of routes that beat zone coverage at some point.
Yeah.
The deep crosses that come from all the other way side of the field, it's if you don't get home, there's going to be some windows. So then you kind of get, all right, well, we got to play man or come after them, and then they can beat you in. Then you got to put more pressure on the DBs, and if they beat you in man, the guy's catching and running. And so that's where, both sides of the ball got to learn that. We have to be able to protect 5-on-4 if we want to stretch the field. And if not, then we're going to have more guys to deal with in coverage. And the same side of defense.
Almost become the hidden motto in college football. You have to be able to protect long enough to throw the over, right? Everybody's throwing the over. It's ubiquitous. It's across college football. And if you can protect long enough to throw the over, you're in good shape because then everything else opens up for you.
That's right. Yeah. If you're protecting and you stress the defense and you can get the deep overs and the flood routes, the 3-level stuff down the field, you're going to hit big plays if you can throw it to them, which, Jaron can.
Oh, he can. Yeah.
It happened against us on defense. We didn't get home and, they're flooding, there's 3 guys down the field at 18 yards or more. And you got to get the ball out. So if you look in the NFL and all these teams that play great pass defense, the first thing you're going to look at is the 4 guys rushing.
Yeah. Who's getting after the quarterback? It shows up week in, week out on Sunday. It shows up week in, week out on college game day Saturday too. Anybody who gets after the passer does much better on defense. And the game is always one up front, no matter how good your guy is in the backfield throwing the ball. If you get after him, if you get him off platform, if you get him thinking that the game's faster than it is, then you're in trouble. All right, that's enough. Kind of flush that Duke game. UNC coming in, Friday night game. Tell me about it.
Yeah, they got good players. They got proven schemes. It's obviously they're well coached. They have the schemes are good and players are good. They probably don't have quite the record they want, but when you watch cut-ups, Mike, as you can appreciate, you don't just look at the record or certainly don't just read what's on Twitter or ESPN. I think we just watch the tape. And so we see what they have. They have good players. They have good schemes. And so that's what we use to get ready. Ultimately, we need to go play our best game, play efficient on offense, stop the run on defense, limit those explosives, win the field position battle. And that's what we need to do. So they got our full attention. They have good players and good schemes. And we need to focus on Cal football and playing better.
And a huge piece at this point of the season becomes leaders stepping up, right? Guys stepping in, being the trendsetters. Who is doing that? Who are you counting on to do that? And is it happening? I guess is the first question.
I think we're finding that. In all honesty, Mike, I think there's some guys that are that are doing that. I think in the receiver room on offense, you see kind of Trond and Jacob, Jordan King. Those guys have really kind of stepped their game up. All those guys are playing pretty darn consistent. Not perfect, but each week it's like you can count on. You know what you're getting from them. Mason Minnie, not the most vocal guy, but that guy is. He's battling. Jaron has started using his voice more and more, and Jaron, he's got things to work on, but in terms of taking what the defense gives him and also, getting rid of the ball if it's going to be a sack, like there's a couple things he can certainly do better.
Yeah, definitely can help himself for sure.
Yeah, and eliminate those turnovers. He's going to do that, and when he does, I mean, he's going to play it at such a high level. O-line, I think we're work in progress there. I think that's the group I think can take the biggest jump here in the second half of the season. I really do. So continuing to get that group working, not just as 5 individuals, but as one unit. And I think that'll make a big difference. And then obviously Jaron kind of taking what the defense gives him and making good decisions with the ball. So yeah, I think that's it. Defensively, Cade, Aiden Kiana Aina. The secondary, I think, is kind of finding their way a little bit. They're like the O-line, good guys with good intentions. We need that group playing as one unit with communication and checks and things like that. So we've gotten hurt there a few different times just on not being on the same page.
Yeah, and kind of, I mean, afterthought now that you talk about it, Ryan McCullough, obviously, you lose him for the season. Isaiah Crosby, those are 2 guys who led through their play for sure, were leaders. How much does that affect you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be lying if I said it didn't affect us. I mean, those are 2 of our best players, Ryan McCullough and Isaiah Crosby, who's playing really well. So, but that's just part of the game. It's got to be the next man up. And that's why those other guys are here and why they practice to get these opportunities. Now, getting them to make the most of those and playing winning football and making sure that we're coaching them on things that they can do and what they do well. And if we need to either add or adjust or reduce, the menu, then that's what we have to do. So I think that's always the fine line we're walking as coaches, especially when you have a few guys that you're counting on go down.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time, as always. I look forward to a great game on Friday night. Going to be a big one on the lights here in Berkeley.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
So you heard it from Coach. Little mistakes lead to big problems. And, we talked about mindset. We talked about guys getting, motivated to be there, to understand their assignments, to do the right thing. And so it's not that these guys don't want to, it's the fact that they have not found that way to do it yet. They haven't figured out the mental skills to make that happen. And so it's essential that players take it upon themselves, that they take that motivation, make it intrinsic, to understand the system, to know the checks, to ask the questions, to understand, any adjustments you're going to have during a play. It has to happen, and they have to do it for themselves. Coaches can coach, but eventually it becomes Charlie Brown's teacher. You need to take that upon yourself. And so that's where the Bears are at right now. They have a chance at 4-2 to have a really good season if they can pick this up. This week, we talked about it, North Carolina coming into town. North Carolina's struggling right now. They're trying to find a win. They're trying to find a way. And, with that last game against Duke right now, the Tar Heels think that they're going to be able to pick one up here in Berkeley this week. And so in order for the Bears to win this game, and you watch North Carolina on film, and they've got talent. They've got dudes who can play. You got Max Johnson at quarterback, looks really good. He's a great story, coming back from a major fracture in his femur, huge surgery, crazy scar. You have Jordan Shipp, really good wide receiver for them, that run the ball really hard. They got some linemen. So they have some tools. It's just an issue of they haven't put them together yet. But they're thinking they can come on the road at Cal and win one. The Bears need to find a way to snuff that out early. Play at their peak. Just be, again, ruthlessly efficient, being so good about doing their job in that moment every single time. Coach said, the next play is going to be the most important play in the game. If you can get that mentality, if you can make that decision in your head, if you can understand how to get there, whatever mental skills it takes for you to get there, and that's what I do a lot with athletes, then you've cracked the code, because that's how you become the best player you can be. That's how you go on to play at the next level, by playing every play as if the next play is the most important play in the game. It's the absolute key. Coach is right on that. And so Anyway, that's what they need to figure out. You can hear our call this weekend, Friday night. Justin and I will be on the air, 8:10 KSFO. Hear our pregame starting an hour before the game. So you hear us break it down for you there. I will have my pause plays of the week coming up here shortly as well. But I appreciate you listening. Got a little bit on soapbox again today because, I hate losses, and losses are preventable if you are of the right mindset. If you, as a player, you understand all these tools, all these things that I've been talking about here today, if you can get those things down, if you can make them part of what you do, then losses are preventable. You just make the play when it's your time to make the play. But thanks for listening. I appreciate you guys. I am Mike Pawlawski for Bear Insider and the Ultimate Insider Podcast. As always, go Bears.